Thank you so much for coming to the Martin Luther King Administration Building today as we both preserve history and make history by announcing the formal transformation of a neglected lawn into an incredible new landmark. Without hesitation, may I introduce the Mayor of Harrisburg, the Honorable Eric Poponfoos.
Hey. Well, thank you, Lenwood. Today is indeed a very, very exciting day, and to put this in a larger context, 2020 is, of course, an incredibly important anniversary for our nation and for our city. In 1870, the 15th Amendment was passed. The 15th Amendment gave African Americans the right to vote. We will be celebrating the 150th anniversary of that this year. And the 19th Amendment passed in 1920, 100 years ago, that gave women the right to vote. Now, those two amendments would be significant enough subjects for a monument, but in Harrisburg, with the Commonwealth Monument Project, we are also putting our own local spin on this monument by celebrating the history of the old 8th Ward, which was the Harrisburg neighborhood, where the Capitol complex currently sits, and we are focusing on highlighting 4 individuals closely tied to Harrisburg's history, each African American: William Howard Day, the famous educator; Francis Harper, the poet; Jacob Compton, the soldier; and T. Morris Chester, the correspondent. You can find out more about each of those on digitalharrisburg.com, as well as monumentpaus.com, and those will tell you about the Commonwealth Monument Project. It's an exciting day today. We're going to announce that this project is truly coming to fruition. We've got important dates. We've got many different people to speak, but we thought it might be good to start with an introductory video. I know many of you in the audience understand the history, but for the larger audience at home, perhaps watching on Channel 20 or the media, let's begin with the video. If you could direct your attention over there.
A gathering at the crossroads commemorates the old 8th Ward, the area demolished in the early 1900s for the extension of the Capitol grounds. The expansion project initiated a transformative period of time in Harrisburg's history, while also displacing thousands of residents in the process. Search for connections and share your story at digitalharrisburg.com. Learn about the Commonwealth Monument Project at monumentpaus.com. Join the Jubilee as descendants of the old 8th Ward honor their memory, and see history come alive at the dedication ceremony on June 15th. Witness the unveiling of the first African American monument on the Capitol grounds. Be a part of this timeless moment and celebrate as a community Harrisburg's past, present, and future. The Commonwealth Monument Project is an initiative of the III-PT Harrisburg Peace Promenade, a project of the Foundation of Enhancing Communities, TFEC, fiscal sponsor.
Thanks to Momin and Lenwood and our team for putting the video together. That'll be airing on Channel 20 right up until the eventual unveiling of this monument on June 15th of 2020 at 4 p.m. So save the date, June 15th, 2020, for the monument unveiling. Can you believe it? This will be the first and only monument to African Americans on our Capitol grounds. Long overdue, but a truly remarkable achievement. And before we get any further along, I would like to introduce the Vice President of the Pennsylvania NAACP and past President, Mr. Blanding Watson, for some remarks about the importance of the Commonwealth Monument Project. Thank
you. Good morning. On behalf of the NAACP Pennsylvania State Conference, our President, Kenneth Houston, Executive Committee, members, and members at large, I bring you greetings. I'm the Vice President of the Pennsylvania State Conference, as the Mayor has said, and past President, Blanding Watson, and I want to thank Harrisburg's Mayor Poponfoos, Lenwood Salone, Jed Stewart, TFEC, the descendants of the ones on the monument, and the community in Harrisburg in supporting these efforts. The mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of all persons and to eliminate race-based discrimination. The NAACP Pennsylvania State Conference is in full support of the monument that will be built to honor the legacy of the 8th Ward, which was a black neighborhood in Harrisburg of nearly 1,100 homes that was raised to make way for the Capitol Complex expansion in the early 1900s. The commemoration is timely as we recognize the 150th anniversary of the passage of the 15th Amendment of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which was granted the right to vote respectively to African American and women. The statue, which is to be dedicated on June 15th, 2020, will occupy the vacant corner of 4th and Walnut Streets and depict 4 figures. They include Jacob Compton, a member of the United States Color Guard troops during the Civil War and coachman to Simon Cameron; Thomas Chester, a war correspondent and lawyer during the Civil War, abolitionist and editor William Howard Day; and Frances Harper, abolitionist and women's rights advocate. Great historians and humanitarians of our time pose the question, what will become of the history in the future? Perhaps the answer is embedded in the achievement of this accomplishment, which along with the Greater Harrisburg of the NAACP branch and statewide coalition of more than 60 organizations and 200 individuals in the effort to galvanize communities across the Commonwealth into a major force to bring the effort to fruition. The NAACP Pennsylvania State Conference fully looks forward to participating in the dedication as we continue to write our narrative. A more excellent way, President Houston and the Pennsylvania State Conference of the NAACP, thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is much appreciated, and I agree. This is not only a monument for all of Pennsylvania, but it is a monument for the country and for our nation, and it's something for which we can all be very, very proud. Now, many people have come together to make this possible, but let me tell you a little bit about the city's role. Back during the budget process last year, Mr. Lenwood Sloan came in with Jeb Stuart and others to talk about the fact that we needed to raise $50,000 to develop the foundation, the area on the Leroy Irvis lawn that would eventually house the monument. And at the center of that foundational plaza was going to be the wonderful pedestal which you see here, which, by the way, is on display for the whole month of February here in the atrium of City Hall. So please come check it out in person if you haven't already had a chance to do so. So $50,000 was what it was going to take to actually construct this monument, stage 1. With the help of City Council, the city last year, as part of its budget process, said we would put up half of that. But we would put up half of it with the catch that the community would have to come together and raise the match, the other half. And we are very, very pleased to announce today that the community has stepped up and raised the other half of that match, and TFEC, which is the financial partner of the Monument Project, I believe has something they'd like to present. And if I may, I'd like to introduce Janice Black, assisted by Lenwood Sloan.
So, Mayor Papenfuss?
Yes.
The Foundation for Enhanced...
You take the microphone, we'll hold the chair.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
We said you take the mic,
Yeah.
we'll hold the
So Mayor Papenfuss and Lenwood Sloan and Jeb Stuart and so many more, the Foundation for Enhancing Communities is very honored to present the match of $25,000 to provide the basis, the transformation of this wonderful project. And we're very honored to do so.
Thank you, Janice. That's great news. And with that, the city will be releasing its $25,000 match, and we will have the $50,000 for the groundbreaking. And I think I can announce here today that the groundbreaking for the monument and the development of the plaza will be on March 25th. So March 25th in the morning, 10:30 a.m., the groundbreaking for the monument, and then the eventual unveiling of the monument on June 15th. Now, there's a lot more to say, and I want to hand things over now to our Master of Ceremonies, a man with a tireless spirit and a constant focus on preserving the past for the future, Mr. Lenwood Sloan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I wanted to ask Janice to say just another word about the source of this check, because it's an amazing grace that came to us. It's an amazing grace that came to us, ma'am.
Thank you, Linwood. I don't know if many of you know, but the Foundation for Enhancing Communities is 100 years old this year. We started in 1920. We're the 18th oldest community foundation in the country. And because of our celebration of our anniversary, we were honored to provide this money to help with the mayor's match and to provide the basis. And we're also the fiscal sponsor for this project, which enables the project and Linwood and Jeb and all those involved to provide a charitable benefit for all of you who might want to make a charitable contribution to help further the payment of everything that we're doing here today. So we are very honored to do that, and we are just pleased to be part of it, more so than just the fiscal sponsor. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Do you want me to take that?
I'm going to put this here because the mayor said he would release his check, you know, and we're just going to put this here just as an incentive, just as an incentive. With us today are the incredible creative team of ART Enterprises, Inc. of Lancaster. Becky Alt, will you raise your hand, Becky? And Ben Bale, gladly. Ben, would you raise your hand? I blew that, but you know what I mean. These are the creative force and the visionaries that are capturing the spirit of Jacob Compton, T. Morris Chester, William Howard Day, and Francis Harper in bronze and life-size bronze around this incredibly beautiful and architecturally amazing pedestal. On top of it is a map of the neighborhood in 1870, Mr. Mayor, and people are encouraged to run their hands down the streets of the old town. The oils on your hand actually shine, as you can touch this, by the way. And we're asking all of those who are listening, both on media and in the press, to come down to City Hall and see this incredible piece. It will be the GPS center of the K. Leroy Irvis Equality Circle. Now, Mr. John Melham of Melham and Associates are with us. John, would you raise your hand? They are the architects and an engineering firm that are going to work with Becky and her team to actualize this piece with the help of the Department of General Services and through the House H.R. 415 and the Senate S.R. 158 authorizing the placement of the monument on this lawn. Every project needs an angel. Our angel came in the form of Miss Peggy Grove, who helped us with the commission for the pedestal. It has been in the Strawberry Square. It will now live here. It goes back to the foundry for its preparation and then on to John to be placed into the ground. And I'd like to invite Miss Peggy Grove to come forward and speak at this time.
For those of you with cameras, I'd also like to invite you to take a closer look at the picture, which is the same confirmation of the top of the pedestal. It makes it easier for you to take a picture of it and to find some of the locations of the houses of your relatives and of the synagogues and of the churches and some of the shops that were part, and restaurants, et cetera, that were part of the old 8th Ward. This particular picture, bronze configuration, is going to be presented to the governor next month to be hanging in the Capitol in advance of the entire project. And I have a second one that's going to be in my office, and my office will be donated upon my demise to the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. from whence it came a long time ago. So it will live on in democratic politics at least, and in, of course, the Capitol, which is both. I want to say a few things about the people who have helped to make this happen, and a little bit about some of the background. And so bear with me as I read my notes so that I don't take up too much time. Thank you, first of all, to Mayor Papenfus for making this possible today, and for having this on the day that petitions are due for our primary election. This election this year is one of the most important elections that in my lifetime I will have taken part in. My first important one was when we elected JFK. I was a young Democrat in high school, and I helped work on his campaign. This time, our democracy and our Constitution is on the line. And I beg everyone to please vote. I'm not saying vote Republican, Democrat, or any particular person, but vote your conscience and make sure that your children vote if they are eligible. And make sure that your grandchildren know how important this is so that they talk about it in school and get their children get their parents and their grandparents to vote. That's my bandstand for the moment. This bronze monument and what it signifies for the African American, it's also standing for the Native American, for all people of color, for women, all the disenfranchised people that have had to fight for the vote all these many years. So that's what this really represents. It happens to be the African Americans that we are honoring with this now, because they have never been honored before at this Capitol. Nor have the Native Americans, nor have women. We are there as holding up lamps and things like that, but no particular woman has been honored in a historic way. The 8th Ward was demolished between 1897, when the Capitol burned, and happenstance that this past Patriot News had a picture of the Capitol and had a little byline as to why, and it was on the puzzle page, and the page that usually has a historic picture of some kind. And that's when I learned that it was 1897, not 1905, which was what I thought it was. And just a little bit of history. There was a lot of graft. I have a picture in my office of the way the Capitol was to have been built. It didn't get built that way, and the back part of the Capitol that has all the fountains and things, that was really supposed to be in the front. But they ran out of money because too many people stole money as it was being built. And a lot of people went to jail. The Capitol grounds has never had a monument, as you've heard previously, which celebrated the contributions of African Americans, residents of this area. It is going to be placed on the lawn of the K. Leroy Irvis building. He was the first African American to be elected by his peers to be the Speaker of the House. And a portion of the Capitol, of course, is named for him, and we are going to be adding to that. It is fitting that this monument commemorate the 15th and 19th constitutional amendments, which will be placed on the K. Leroy Irvis lawn, as I previously said. Thanks to the vision of Linwood Sloan, the project director of the International Peace Promenade, and Jeb Stewart, who is the secretary, and he is also our city historian. He didn't want me to say that, but he is. He is unbelievable in ferreting out the information that we need from the state archives, from the county, from wherever he can get the information, to make sure that we are accurate and that we remember the things we should be remembering in this town, because we have a beautiful history, a very colorful history that now we're going to add the color black to. This pedestal was the first portion of the monument project to be completed. Much research and painstaking design and sculpting, bronzing, and fundraising has finally brought us to this day. The City of Harrisburg, the Foundation for Enhancing Communities, the Peggy A. Grove Family Fund, and my son is here today, Michael Grove, as well as numerous other contributors, have combined their funds to begin the work on this important historical work of art. And let us remember, this is a work of art. Special thanks to Messiah College for their research and their continuing efforts to interview descendants of the 8th Ward. There are 100 families that are listed on the side of one of the sides of this pedestal. And many of those families still are with us. Some have moved out of the area, but as I mentioned these names, they're going to be familiar. They're very familiar to me. Curtis, Braxton, Brian Wood, Bowers, Slaughter, Williams, and many, many others. Mr. Jimmy Wood is a descendant of Jacob Compton, who is one of the 4 figures surrounding the pedestal. And there are many others that are represented by the other 3 figures. Time limits the amount of background I can give you on these. There are a multitude of connections between the 4 figures and the families who lived in the old 8th Ward, and the descendants who still reside in Harrisburg and some surrounding areas of this state as well as others. You can discover their homes, churches, synagogues, small businesses on the bronze map that is a replication of the top of the order's pedestal, which I mentioned earlier. In commemoration of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, or the women's right to vote, I am presenting a check today to Becky Alt. Becky, would you come forward, please? I think I still have it here. It may be on my seat.
It would be right here.
Oh, thank you.
I always keep track.
Thank you. And this represents the amount that is needed, plus a match which came from my, and this is a loan actually, the exact same amount came from my Fidelity Fund, which is the Grove Family Fund, which has been sent to TFEC, and I don't know if they've received the check as yet, but they should soon. And that will get us started on these first 2 figures. That amount needed to be raised by the 1st of March to be able to continue this project online for it to be completed this year. And it is my pleasure to have been able to help that happen. And Becky is a representation of the ART, which is the organization that put the enterprise, I want to call it. It's a foundry. They have artists, they have people who do the bronze, they have fabricators, they have designers, they have architects, etc. And they have given us a big bargain. There's no way we could have done this without their help and without their help.
I don't cry.
Would you like to say a word, Becky?
Yes, please. I'm finished. It's Becky's turn.
Okay. First of all, I really don't know how do you say thank you? And everyone in my shop knows I do not cry. But this is just.
It's all right.
Okay. Thank you.
May I clarify?
Yeah, thank you. Help me.
Peggy Grove has sent a check to TFAC for the support of the life-size bronze figure of Frances Harper.
I wanted the woman.
And she has given an additional check to Becky so that she can bring William Howard Day to life. And Mr. Mayor, you know that in our narrative, Miss Frances Ellen Watkins Harper is handing the 15th Amendment back to William Howard Day because she sees no evidence of the franchise of women there. So these 2 gifts help us bring this narrative onto the circle which the mayor and TFEC have announced the funding for today. The vision is about to be planted in the ground.
And I'm just going to say a few words. During this adventure, which started well over a year ago after I met Mr. Sloan and my business partner, Mike Cunningham, we had a very great interchange, and we realized that this was a project that was going to be very near and dear to our hearts and would take all of our artisans to accomplish this amazing project that will become an international destination. There is no memorial, sculpture, statue to say the story at present. Yes, we are doing Francis first, then we are producing William Howard Day. The other two characters will come. If any of you really do not know their story, the lady that does the reenacting of Francis says, do goggle them, find their story, because it is an amazing story. And as hard as it was for everyone to bring this to fruition, these people went through a lot more for us. Their footsteps got us to where we are today, and we need to continue forward. And this memorial is going to help educate our young people. And that's what this country is about, our young people. It's for the future. It's not about us anymore, it's for the next generation. Our parents, our generations before did it for us, it's our turn to do it. So, I don't know what else to say. I could go into all the arts, but this is just an amazing thing. I am just so touched. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're just about at our time, Mr. Mayor. Just a few more words I would like to say. I get to stand up for a number of incredible people. May I introduce to you Ms. Phyllis Bennett, who is the co-chair of our government and business enterprise. Would you come join us in the picture, please? Ms. Gloria Martin Roberts, who is our community and activist liaison. Mr. Jeb Stewart. Jeb, would you come forward into the picture? Who is the secretary of the project. Mr. Kelly Summerford, who is the treasurer of the project. The brilliant Dr. David Pettigrew. Doctor, would you come forward? Every day, 8,000 people come to work in the Capitol at 7:45. They go home at 3:45 without knowing, Mr. Mayor, where they are. David Pettigrew and his students at Messiah College have created this campaign called Look Up and Look Out. 12 locations across the Capitol, which just happen to be overlaid on the map, are designed so that their cultural and civic workers and state employees can look out the window, review these, and place their phones up to the QR code and take a little bit of time travel. Also with us is Jean Corey. Miss Corey, will you come forward? And Miss Yvette Davis. Yvette, will you come forward? These are the people who worked so hard for us. We could not do this project without Mr. Caleb Jackson, the brilliant historian of our city and the living treasure. And Mr. Jackson, will you come up and give the last words as we introduce some descendants of the old 8th Ward who are with us today, and they're the real stories. So Caleb, will you come in?
Nancy.
Oh, Miss Nancy Mendez, will you come forward? Miss Nancy Mendez, I'm so sorry. Nancy Mendez is the co-chair of our design team, and she works intimately and spiritedly with Becky and the artistic team. And now, Caleb, would you introduce the descendants?
Good morning to everyone. Good. Such a beautiful occasion. First of all, I'm going to meet, there's 3 descendants of the 100 voices that you have on the paper. There are 3 descendants here today, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that one of the names is here in spirit, and that is W. Justin Carter, because as it was mentioned that the NAACP vice president is here, W. Justin Carter was at Niagara in 1905 at W. Du Bois, and in 1907 at Harper's Ferry. And when the NAACP was formed, he was a member of the Committee of 100. And when he died in Harrisburg in 1947, Dr. Du Bois came in one of his honorary pallbearers. Now, for the ones that are present, Miss Betty Curtis is a descendant of Dorothy Curtis. Okay. Miss Mary Braxton is a descendant of George Hezekiah Imes and also Mary Braxton Roberts. And where's Yvonne?
She went out for her grandchild. She's a descendant of Maud Coleman.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, and Yvonne Hollins, who was sitting here, she's a descendant of Maud Coleman. And we just found this connection about 2 days.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, Sunday?
No, I knew before then. But
You
I just
did?
told you. Yeah.
Well, you told us.
Long before. Yeah.
Well, at least we know it, and you brought it up. So thank you very much.
And the other descendant is Audrey Utley, who is also a granddaughter of
Maud
Maud
Coleman? Great. See, I knew Maud
I
Coleman.
mean, she's a niece, I'm sorry.
Right, I knew Maud Coleman, and I've known Miss Utley and Miss Hollins forever, and didn't know the connection.
Oh, yeah.
But like we said in Harrisburg, we're all sort of related.
Yes, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, if you know Jimmy Wood, who played in the Hilton Hotel across the street for years and years and years, his music floated into the City Hall, and little did we know that he is a descendant of Jacob Compton. In fact, Messiah College, Mr. Mayor, have found 47 connections of the 100 names. And we are inviting those of you, as we say goodbye today, to come down to City Hall, to look at the pedestal, to take a rubbing of the families, to pick up one of our brochures, and to look to see if you are part of this dynamic history. And you don't have to be a descendant. You don't have to be a descendant to adopt one of these names. Go to digitalharrisburg.com or monumentpaus.com. Find the history of one of these families. Help us bring them back into the light. And now it is time for us to say goodbye, but we have to do a pitch because my colleagues would not let me off this space without it. Kelly, Phyllis, will you do a pitch?
Well, everyone here, typically if you know me, know that I'm not too proud to beg. So today, what I am doing is asking our community to make donations so that we can complete this project. I'm not asking for a specific number, but those with deep pockets go deep, and those that don't have as much, do what you can. We like to think that building this monument is sending a different message to the country. When monuments are being torn down, we are building. Because we are hit with messages, 2,000 messages at least every day. Visuals matter, visuals count. So our capital, the capital of our Commonwealth, will have something there that will make others think, will make others feel, and more importantly, it will educate those. So I'm asking each of you, your friends, your families, your churches, your organizations, to just give. Give what you can, because be part of this mission. This mission is important, and this mission will go far beyond any of us living in this room. So I ask you, I beg you, I started off with that beg, and I can do that, to do what you can and give what you can. Thank you, and I will be more than happy to collect checks at the end of this session. Oh, well, thank you, ma'am. Oh, see how this starts? Now I'm waiting. I don't have a basket, but my hands are big. They're wide. So we'll be more than happy to collect checks today.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to have the final word and benediction for us, sir?
TFEC.
Yes. Make the checks to TFEC, TFEC, the Foundation for Enhancing Communities.
Yep.
With the project in the memo line, so they know which project to put it in.
And place monument project in the memo line.
And the city will be sending our check very, very soon, following those directions. It's a wonderful and incredibly important day. The monument, which has been a vision now for so long, is going to become a reality. I want to remind you again of the 2 dates that we've already mentioned, but I hope we can all convene. March 25th for the groundbreaking of the new plaza, and then June 15th for the unveiling. There is one other initiative which the city is working closely with our partners on, and that is the Meet You at the Monument, or Meet Us at the Monument initiative for the June Jubilee. We're inviting people to come to Harrisburg for this celebration, enjoy our parks and our playgrounds, have a homecoming celebration of your own, and our Parks Department is going to make that very easy. So please reach out to us and do it. And I should note also that, as I was reminded this morning, there was a Papenfuss in the old 8th Ward. And yes, it's true. And there is. And we are going to have to, I come from a family of German immigrants, and they spread across the country, and I'm going to have to research and nail down the exact things. But it is amazing. It is amazing, all of the connections that are here. So thank you all for coming. A day of celebration, and media, if you have any questions, we will all stick around afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Applause to you.